I picked up this little tinsel flag at the Dollar Tree and I thought we could give this a coastal makeover. So it has like a little ribbon hanger here at the top. We are just going to remove that. We're going to basically remove everything on this flag and start from scratch. It's one of those like cheap like tinsel ones. I can't stand this stuff. So I just cut it right down the middle and pull it off. Now there are little tabs on the side that they used, for that garland. And I'm just going to leave all that on there. I'll just make my flag a little bit larger than the plastic cage. So you won't be able to see any of that. But basically, I'm just trying to clean up everything that was on there. I just want the cage and the hanger to make a new flag. And if you make a mess with that little tinsel stuff, I always use like a Dollar Tree lint roller. It really helps pick that up, especially off my silicone mat. Now, the first layer of our flag, I want to use some of this Dollar Tree burlap. And I want it to be a little bit bigger than the cage. So I was trying to figure that out. And I think that's going to work. I just kind of need the middle section here. I'm just going to go ahead and cut that out. And I love the fact that Dollar Tree has burlap now, but storing it in the rolls like that, it's all wrinkled and rolls up on you. So I do find I have to iron it a lot to be able to work with it. And I do go ahead and give this an iron. I also use a little starch on it. I think it helps to stiffen it up a little bit, which makes it a little bit easier to work with as well, because when it rolls up like that, there's not a lot you can do with it. So I'm just going to use my Cricut Easy Press and give it a quick iron, spray some starch on there. And I know a lot of you guys have said that if you Mod Podge it first and let it dry, it doesn't fray. So that's a good tip as well. But I usually don't have enough time for that, unfortunately. But now that it's flat, I can kind of see what I'm working with. And I can kind of see that I didn't cut it super even. So I'm just going to try to, cut along the row. And that is a quick, easy way to cut burlap because you can usually see where your rolls are and just kind of clean that up a little bit. That's going to be the background of our flag. And I know that you can see through it, but it's only going to be one layer of it. So I think it's going to be fine. Now, while I still have access to the hanger, I'm going to go ahead and take some twine and just tie that around the hanger. And that way I won't have to worry about that later. Now the burlap itself, again, was going to be the first layer. So I just need to attach that. And then I want to do like a kind of a coastal version of a flag over it using some coastal items. So I'm going to use one of those Dollar Tree bandanas as well. I'm going to go ahead and do the top half of the flag first and just hot glue that to the cage everywhere I had an opportunity. And then go ahead and do the same thing here on the bottom. And you can see that I cut it a little bit larger, so it's kind of stick out from all the edges there, and I don't have to worry about any of that. Now, I wanted to do something fun with the red stripes. So I am taking this bandana, and I started by cutting it, but then I was like, I don't really want to cut it. I really want to rip it. And so that is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut like a little bit, just enough to get a hold of it, and then just rip the entire red stripe out. It's going to kind of give me like a rag effect. It's going to be, a little weathered looking. I think that's going to look nice and coastal. And you do have a little string issues and stuff like that, but you can always clean it up a little bit. And so I did the same thing with that one. I just cut it enough to get a hold of it and then just rip, and it rips along that one seam. And these are plenty long enough for the stripes here on the bottom. Actually, they're a little bit longer than I need, so I'm just going to trim those down to size. Now for the top part of the flag, of course, we're going to still have the red stripes. They're going to be a little bit shorter, so I'm cutting that part of the bandana out. And then I'm just going to rip those out as well. And I'm going to leave the burlap for the white stripes for right now, but I have another idea for the white stripes on this flag. And this was a really fun DIY to make. I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to turn out when I started it, but I really liked the final project. Now I want to glue all these stripes down. I did not want to use hot glue though, because it would soak through the fabric. So what I'm going to use to glue all these down is just some Mod Podge. It wasn't the easiest. If I were to do it again, I might use tacky glue, but basically I just put down a layer of Mod Podge and then kind of pressed it on until it kind of soaked through to glue it to the front. And I just do that all the way up with all of the red stripes. And then I lost a little bit of footage there, but basically I actually ripped a rectangle of the star pattern from the bandana as well for this part of the flag. And then I'm going to Mod Podge that on just like I did all of the stripes. So it kind of has like a ripped edge too. Two of the edges have ripped a little bit better than the other two, but we made it work. And I wasn't sure it was going to stay on because this was a much bigger piece of fabric. So I did Mod Podge over the top of the star part too, and kind of cleaning up some of the stripes with a lint roller because, the strings and stuff were kind of all over the place. But for the coastal touches, we have the burlap, we have the ripped fabric, but I thought some seashells would be great. So I want to use white seashells from the Dollar Tree to do the white stripes of the flag. And, they come in these little bottles like this, and I just want to use the white ones. I noticed there was kind of smaller ones and kind of larger ones, and I can't say that my stripes were super even on my flag. Kind of adds to the character, I guess. So I'll just use some of the smaller white shells for the smaller lines and some of the larger ones for the large ones. And I'll make it look like maybe I did it on purpose, right? And it's just a matter of Mod Podging those down. I found that if you Mod Podge just the top side is plenty. You just need to make some kind of contact between the shell and the burlap. And I think it's totally going to hold up. You might want to lay them out first, because it kind of makes it a little bit faster like that. You can just keep it going. So we're going to do that all the way down. My first thought was I was going to use starfish for the stars, but I did kind of want this to look a little bit more like a traditional flag with that blue and white star pattern. So I kind of like it like that. I think the shells are definitely a little fun, unexpected touch. And I haven't made a flag like this yet for 4th of July. And so I'm just going to do that with the final 2 rows here, just gluing down each seashell. And this was a really fun DIY to make. I really like it. And you could pretty much hang this anywhere. You can even hang it on your front door if you like. So that is how it turned out, our little seashell American flag. And I think it does look a little bit better. This is after it's dried for a day. I always notice the Mod Podge on the fabric does dry eventually. It's still kind of, you can still see it when you use the heat gun, if you know what I mean. But if you let it dry, it kind of disappears better.
And it does look really coastal for 4th of July.